Hey, this is the World Advice Channel too. What I want to talk about today is a topic of why communism ruins everything. So for this video, I hope to educate people why this ideology is such a crappy one, not even a dangerous one, but a straight up crappy one, um, in a way that people who are not familiar with the topic of communism can understand what I'm saying, because I'm trying to warn people why this is an ideology that shouldn't be embraced and shouldn't ever come to any nation. As truth be told, it screws up everything, okay? So this is the video I'm going to be posting today, and I hope to educate you why communism is a bad system and it should never be implemented, especially here in the West. So now that I mention that, let's get started. So when it comes to the first reason why communism sucks is that first and foremost, economically, it is a fucking disaster, okay? And once you get past the fact that a lot of its supporters are fucking nutcases who, simply put it, for that matter, are not just people who are unwilling to who are completely brainwashed and nothing you can tell them can change their mind. They're not even open to hearing different sides of the arguments, for that matter, as well as the fact that they're extremely disrespectful and rude. That, of course, obvious annoyance when it comes to their followers of that ideology. Another annoyance is just simply the fact that economically, communism, when we look at history of the world, is a fucking disaster and has always been a disaster. Because the truth of the matter is, one of the biggest reasons why communism is a disaster is that economically, one of the things that drives any nation's economy is, of course, believe it or not, surprise, 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 it is actually materialism. Materialism, in some way, shape, or form, has existed for hundreds to thousands of years, and it's a system that, even though a lot of the stuff is kind of relatively petty and insignificant and kind of, maybe you could say useless, economically it's very useful because it encourages people to purchase things that are more expensive than basic food and amenities. Not to mention, once you get past the fact that obviously, yes, a lot of these things are simply created just simply to generate money, whether it could be something like maybe a simple vase, or something like, for example, maybe a simple statue that people put in their houses, yada, 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 yada. One thing that it definitely does do once you get past those things, if that it's very successful at, aside from, of course, economically, it creates good memories for people. It creates memories that are lasting and never will be forgotten, such as the fact of, or remember the time you got your first CD, or this and that, of course, from a modern lens perspective, or maybe the first time you got this particular thing. I remember that experience we had when you had this, maybe this thing in the background, that, of course, used to have all the time. I remember used to have this, maybe, like, I don't know, maybe, this poster with all these famous musicians. It creates good memories. But once you get past the fact that it actually serves a purpose because it creates good memories, economically, it is also important because it helps just make sure people are constantly purchasing things. And it creates a lot of revenue, which of course creates jobs and of course provides a better quality of life. But communism teaches people that materialism is evil, and it is even just straight up wrong for that matter. So as a result of that, it takes away that whole aspect of it and just provides things that offer basic amenities. Like, instead of having maybe, like, for example, cars that are really expensive and really fast and beautiful, it just provides you cars that are very basic, or maybe instead of having like really good looking clothing that's very beautiful, and we're not talking about like the silly designer brands that actually are genuinely beautiful, but like ones that actually genuinely look beautiful for that matter, like just the best designs and this and that, you're not supposed to wear that because apparently, for that matter, it's supposed to be, to them, at least communists, it's a sign of, a decadence. So truth be told, economically, it's a disaster because it takes away people's ability to obviously generate greater revenue, for that matter. because those things I mentioned, like the car example, the shirt example, are great ways to encourage revenue, because not only does it look good, and of course it costs a lot of money, but it can consistently be produced with newer and newer brands, which of course, as a result, for that matter, can constantly generate money, which is something communists don't understand, because of course the more money is generated, the more society becomes prosperous, the more they can fire. They can of course afford better quality infrastructure, like larger buildings, better quality roads, but communists ignore it because they're stupid and they just want to hear what they want to hear. Okay, so that's the first thing communism ruins. Okay, it destroys economies because people just live to live instead of live to enjoy, and that's the truth of the matter. So that's the first point. The second point when it comes to why communism ruins everything is that it makes life actually extremely boring. Once you get past all the political drama and, you know, infighting and stuff, that is quite amazingly, believe it or not, is quite common in communist nations and has been going on since the very beginning of communism during the Soviet Union days, for that matter, okay? you know, my God, is it ever a soap opera, for that matter, especially what you can see what's going on in North Korea and so on and so forth. But once you get past that point, that political drama is like something interesting and entertaining, for that matter. Communist nations, aside from that, are actually extremely boring. Nothing really happens because people do not have a desire to be famous and rich like they would, of course, in a Western nation, okay? Because when you have people who are not destined to be rich, rich and famous, for that matter, it's obviously you're gonna have people who are less driven to make the best films, the best this, the best that, whatever you can name it, because of course that is something you're not supposed to do as a communist, for that matter. So it produces extremely boring nations where nothing really happens once you get past the political infighting, if anything, because there's just nothing to look at, there's nothing to consume. Entertainment and enjoyment, for that matter, is considered decadence. So their nations are actually extremely boring, and there's nothing to really care about aside from just simply, if anything, at the very least, just simply praising the state. It's very boring, it's very redundant, it is very repetitive, it gets to you over time, and it can drive any sane person insane. Nothing really happens there. And it doesn't help the fact that it literally, because communists consistently burn books and their ideologies against entertainment, for that matter, pretty much as we know it, especially here in the West, a lot of knowledge and wisdom we have that we take for granted here in the West. Even being able to maybe open up certain books and be exposed to certain knowledge, like how to create TV shows, movies, music, even basic, maybe entertainment, like for popular venues and events, is lost forever because a lot of these dumbasses, when they get their ability to revolt, destroy a lot of great books and so on and so forth, and by burning. So a lot of knowledge is lost. Not to mention communists don't know how entertainment works. They just don't have the ability to comprehend it because they're stupid. So as a result, all the knowledge and stuff that's actually there is just gone. It's just like comparing Japanese entertainment to Chinese entertainment. Anyone who knows anything about Chinese entertainment knows that it's extremely boring. So, because it's a communist nation, so they don't know better and they don't know how to have creativity. And one of the biggest things about creativity is you have to encourage people to have open minds and keep on thinking about new things. Communism is against that. So that's a second thing I wanted to get across, is that communism ruins everything because it makes nations extremely boring and nothing really happens and it gets tiresome and annoying. So that's the second thing. The third thing to also add to that when it comes to communism is that communism also, as well, no surprise, to add to that, also kills the quality of the food. Yes, it's a bit of a unusual one, but it's still a pretty big one. Like you swear, if you live in a nation where like people don't have much to live for and enjoy, they at least give you the privilege of enjoying food. But nope, communism takes that away from you. It's just like if you've been to Cuba and those places like Venezuela and other communist nations, the food is extremely bland because they ration everything. And of course, anything that's very flavorful in general, for that matter, would be considered a sign of decadence. So it's all designed to be as boring and bland as possible, for that matter. Okay, the food is boring and tiresome. If you've been to Cuba, there's no soul in it. It's like even the worst cooks here in maybe like Canada could cook a way better food than them. They are just terrible at it because communism prevents people from learning those things. And that's the third point I want to get across. And now that, of course, I've reached the end of this video, all I hope is that I hope I got the message out to people why communism sucks. It is not an ideology that should be embraced. It destroys everything it touches, and it will continue to destroy everything that it touches, for that matter. Okay, so this is part one of my video series talking about why communism ruins everything, and I hope you learned something new and as well as found this video entertaining. And this is all I have to say, and simply put, I'm out. So bye.